This is Good Morning San Diego.
Welcome back to the Supreme Court. It appears likely to uphold the Biden administration's plan to crack down on ghost guns, at least ghost gun kits. A criminal defense attorney, Vikas Bajaj, joins us on Good Morning San Diego to break down the situation. Okay, so where are we at right now? What kind of set the table, and then we'll go from there.
Well, the Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday based upon an appeal from the Fifth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals. The Fifth Circuit says, well, you know what? I don't know if the ATF has jurisdiction or even the right to regulate ghost gun kits because those aren't weapons. And only weapons can be regulated by the 1968 Gun Control Act, which, as we've discussed before, has certain requirements when guns are being sold. Some of those requirements mandate serial numbers on firearms or weapons. So the question here is whether a ghost gun kit, and for all of our viewers and listeners to understand, a ghost gun can be generally described as a firearm that does not have a serial number. We have so many of these out there now versus 1968 when the statute came about and all the cases that have interpreted it in the decades since because of technology, 3D printing and polymer guns and the non-metal metallic weapons that can be created by anyone who knows that technology. So the question here is squarely whether the ATF properly interpreted the Gun Control Act sections which allow for the regulation of firearms.
Two-part question. How did the questioning go, and can you tell by what questions the judges ask, the black robes ask, can you tell where they are on the matter?
Well, yes, you can to a certain extent. Now, you never know which way they're going to come down, and it wouldn't be the first case where there has been a complete flip from what predictors or pundits have thought the decision would be. But you have distinct questions here. You know, for instance, a justice said, I have in my hand a piece of paper and I have a pen. Is that a grocery list? And another justice said, well, you have some eggs on the kitchen counter and you have some peppers. Is that a Western omelet? So the question is, if you have pieces that can create a regulated item, in this case firearms, can these things be regulated just as the completed item? So it's very hard, Paul, to answer your question and find out which way they're going to come down. I will say that it's a uphill battle to argue that pieces that are specifically sold and manufactured and advertised to be pieces that create a weapon cannot be regulated as a weapon, but we shall see.
So are we looking at a 5-4 decision? Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett go with the liberal element of the court?
I would be a fool to even act as though I had a crystal ball, but this is, again, an uphill battle. And it does not address certain issues, though, Paul. It does not address whether, as a preliminary item, the ATF, given the Chevron doctrine that was struck down by the United States Supreme Court, even has jurisdiction as an administrative agency. It also doesn't address, because it's not in front of the court, whether this is a Second Amendment issue. Which clearly it wasn't. Yes.
So the Second Amendment doesn't factor into this. Where's the NRA and the gun crowd on all this?
Right. This is a statutory interpretation issue. This is not the right to possess or bear arms. They're mutually exclusive in the context of this case.
So then what is it, if it goes the 5-4 the way that we think it would, how does it change our life if you're a gun owner or somebody who makes their own firearm?
Well, there's a limited number of commercial entities that advertise and sell these gun kits. Okay, so the effect on the general public would be minimal. The effect, according to the Biden administration, as evidenced by the argument by the Solicitor General in the case before the Supreme Court, is it'll make the streets safer because usually ghost guns, their argument goes, are used by criminals who want to make sure these guns cannot be traced.
All right, so on that, we wait until summertime and find out?
That's exactly right. We don't have a timeline, but I would bet this comes down sooner rather than later.
Vic, thank you so much for making time for us.
My pleasure. Thank you.